Kicking things off, though, for you this mid-morning session on the main stage, we have a headline presentation now from Dr. Seth Dobrin, the Global Chief AI Officer for IBM, who's going to be talking about leadership in a new era of digital reinvention. Please welcome Seth, who's joining us on screen.
Good morning. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you today. It's a pleasure because I know we have a mix of people together in person and some joining virtually. And that's progress, and I'm hopeful it continues for all of us. And it's a privilege because I'm speaking about this topic now that we're at the start of being together again after so much disruption. The steady shift to digital has been underway for years, for over a decade, largely to the benefit of our lives and society. It's transformed how businesses around the world operate and engage with customers. But with disruption of the pandemic came two tests in rapid succession. The first test was a pop quiz and was a yes/no question. Is my business digitally ready? For most, the answer was no. This disruption exposed and immediately amplified any vulnerabilities to customer experiences and business processes. Those vulnerabilities were laid bare in often painful relief. And if you answered that your company wasn't ready, the next question is, what will you do? And this second test is currently underway. Some answered the question immediately by creating a digital shift that condensed 10 years of digitization into a single year. Speed and agility became the imperative. Capabilities were delivered in weeks, not years. Teams were mobilized to deliver and learn new ways to deliver faster. And that's had a lasting effect. New learnings, new ways of working, and faster timelines are now the norm. Pioneers have moved quickly to keep momentum and are now using AI in 90% of their digital projects. But what will you do? This is an opportunity to take stock of your digitization plans and to make sure they'll reshape your business in a way that leads to digital advantage that lasts. There are three things to ask yourself. Can you trust your data as it grows? Will customers really trust your AI outcome? And can you balance regulation and innovation? And if you noticed, trust is at the core of each of these questions. If you take data proliferation, data has been growing. Now that growth has accelerated with digitization. It comes from everywhere, from the edge and mobile devices, digital interactions, consumer behavior, weather, transactional systems, and supply chains. The useful life of data is shortening too. With our moment-by-moment digital experiences, information can and is highly perishable. Data's value can fade if it can't be used immediately. Lasting digital advantage can't have the built-in delay or risk that comes with continuously moving or copying data. We'll need a foundation to act on trusted data in the moment, anywhere it lives, as it grows. That's virtualized data that retains data provenance, and AI that's deployed to the data anywhere it lives. When we think about how customers have been reimagined, consumer motivation and expectations have shifted. They've adjusted what's important to them and what they value. They've been coined the reimagined consumer, and they're much more attuned to AI's conveniences and much more aware of AI's personal and societal impact. AI's misuse or sheer mistakes are widely covered by the press. Consumers factor trusted AI into who they want to do business with. A foundation for reshaping business takes transparency and explainability beyond the data science practice. People in roles across the enterprise need to trust the process, to trust the outcomes. And they need to be confident that new digital experiences are worthy of a customer's trust. After all, if you don't trust it, why should your customers? When we think about adhering to regulations, government action is actually following citizen sentiment. With closer scrutiny and AI regulations, we're all paying attention to the upcoming EU regulations, but the EU is not alone. Canada was one of the first countries to establish a national AI strategy, and now all public agencies need to do an impact analysis on AI models before they're built. They want to trust the outcomes and curb any risk of harm. Similarly, the UK's new national AI strategy devotes one of its 3 pillars to governing AI effectively. And the penalties in reputational risk and financial cost are significant. That's why it's so important to have the tools to manage the full data and AI lifecycle efficiently. If your foundation for AI uses a trusted process that adheres to regulation, then that creates space for more innovation. These all share a common denominator, a foundation of trusted AI. This foundation is essential to get right. You need to have the right foundation in place. AI is only as good as it is trusted, and trust is an essential ingredient for AI for business. Trust is absolutely essential to AI for business, but there are a few other key components to AI. The ability to run anywhere, because you'll need to deploy your AI in more than one place, whether it's on different clouds or on-prem. And you'll likely want AI to be reliably consistent for consumers as well as regulators. When you look at your internal efficiency, you want to be able to build once and deploy anywhere you want. When we think about understanding the language of business, AI for business has to understand your business, your data as an organization. In fact, IDC estimates that 90% of data is still unused or unanalyzed. So capabilities like natural language processing are secret to unlocking more data, like industry context and jargon, and even code. When you think about automation, AI is what fuels an automated business process. It's what makes it work and yields productivity and a customer experience that's consistent and scalable. And in many ways, technology solves for AI for anywhere, language, and automation. But let me go deeper into trustworthy AI and how you can put this into practice. The highest ethical principles are in vain unless and until they're put into practice. This is a strong capability focus area for us at IBM. We've concentrated on tools for the full data and AI lifecycle. We actively contribute to the global efforts to shape AI metrics, standards, and best practices. And we formed a team to help customers put trustworthy AI into practice. And you've probably seen multiple frameworks lately, and I'll share ours. Ethical principles are at the core, and this is specific to each company. At IBM, we have a very active AI ethics board, and we review any and all AI efforts across the company. This board creates a culture of technology ethics, and IBMers are invested in ensuring that technology is designed and used responsibly. The outer ring in this graphic is an open and diverse ecosystem. And the open and diverse ecosystem helps to drive adoption of governed data and AI technology. The ecosystem includes such things as working with governments to draft regulations for trust in AI. It also includes a community such as the Linux Foundation, where we open source many of our toolkits. And at the center is governed data and AI technology, because it takes a holistic approach to manage and govern AI solutions across the full AI lifecycle. And this is where applying tools shaped from best practices helps bring trustworthy AI into practice without sacrificing the speed and agility required for the digital shift. And when we think about these governed data and AI technologies, the first and one of the most important aspects is it should be transparent. Transparency reinforces trust. And the best way to promote transparency is through disclosure. People need to see how an AI works, be able to evaluate it, and understand its strengths and limitation. Transparent AI shares information, the who, what, where, and how. Who has access and who will ultimately be impacted? What data is collected? Where and how will it be used? Together, this information provides more insights. Think of a nutritional label for AI, like how foods are described by nutritional labels on packaging. Second, AI should be explainable. AI should be able to explain how and why it arrived at a decision, especially if that decision directly impacts people's lives, such as employment, creditworthiness, or health and wellness. Third, AI should be fair. AI can help to counter human biases and promote equitable treatment. With AI used to inform decisions about people and their livelihoods, it's essential that businesses work to mitigate appropriate biases. And fourth, AI should be robust. As AI becomes more and more a part of our daily lives, it also becomes more at risk for attack. AI systems should be actively defended to minimize security risks, so all stakeholders are confident in the outcomes. This means handling exceptional conditions and being built to withstand intentional and unintentional interference. And finally, AI should prioritize privacy. AI systems need to safeguard consumers' privacy and data rights, and be able to provide explicit assurances to users about how their personal data will be used as well as protected. They must also be able to comply with different needs and challenges across highly regulated industries. And they need to understand language specific to each industry, whether that's legal terms, retail terminologies, or airport codes. This is how you can operationalize trustworthy AI as you reshape business for sustained advantage. And you don't need to wait for new law or the UN's approach to take effect until you get this right. You can build this now, and building your advantage using the 4 levers that I described. And when we think about the 4 levers, the ability to automate, predict, secure, and modernize, these are the levers you can use, and you don't need to apply them all at once. The predict lever, you'll start with your data architecture and how much and how well it's understood, trusted, and governed. Many companies have simply outgrown a traditional data architecture because of data proliferation. More and more are moving to a data fabric approach. This is how you integrate and virtualize data across a business into a single and trusted source. And data doesn't need to stay locked in silos because that's not helpful. Instead, it becomes a more valuable and trusted business asset, a lever for digital advantage, if you will. When you think about automation, you can automate your business processes for scale, efficiency, and consistency. Whether that's work your employees really don't want to do, or customer-facing experiences that offer conveniences in the moment, like digital self-service for opening banking or trading accounts. And being able to secure your estate is also required. You likely can't do anything in automation or data or app modernization if security and zero trust is not at the heart of what you're doing. Attacks and threats come from any and all directions. This is about securing all touch points and having insights into threats. It's how you can orchestrate and respond from endpoint to data center to cloud before anything happens. When you look at modernizing, you can make applications you rely on today more accessible and easier to use. Then they can be deployed anywhere you need to run them, whether it's on an edge device, a mobile device, or a public or private cloud. Application modernization is all about making technology accessible to your employees, to your customers, to your partners, and your supply chain. These are the 4 levers you can use for your digital advantage. And no one can go at it alone. It's no longer a matter of one provider trying to do everything. We believe you need both transformational expertise and the technology platform with the levers and AI capabilities at its core. That's done in a way so that you can easily integrate with a broad and growing range of partners, from global systems integrators such as Deloitte and Accenture to startups that offer unique and bespoke capabilities. And in the middle of the technology platform is transformational expertise. Technology platform has the tools and the ecosystem of partners to help you use these levers and integrate AI across the use cases that span your business. When you look at this graphic, on the right are top use cases that are driving transformation. First and foremost is customer care. This is one of the top use cases, and it's a natural place to start. Handling customer service at scale is a prime example. For instance, ABN AMRO kept its customer connections while it moved away from phone and email customer service. Now they have a trusted conversational AI called Anna that answers over 500,000 customer questions annually. Financial planning is the next most common use case. You'll need both trusted data and AI to explore scenarios, inform decisions, and to get trusted outcomes. L'Oreal is a great example, where they serve more than 2,500 financial and planning users worldwide with a streamlined AI-powered financial planning and business analytics system. When you think about employee experience, this spans recruiting, hiring, training, and development of people in an organization. KBC, which is a multi-channel banking and insurance organization, offers its workforce an AI-powered solution to quickly help them learn new skills. And business operations is about becoming smarter and more efficient at what you do best. That could mean opening new accounts faster, like with TD Ameritrade, where they're now able to open customer accounts 70% faster and in a trusted and compliant manner. And finally, IT operations, or AI ops. When you think about how you're going to reduce operational costs while simultaneously transforming IT operations and increasing resiliency. Coca-Cola European Partners is moving to a consolidated view and one point of control over its entire IT infrastructure. And when you put this all together, you achieve outcomes that matter. You also see examples of how leaders met 3 tests for sustained advantage I talked about earlier. The first test, if you recall, is do you trust your data as it grows? ING is a great example of a company who's doing this very well. They've adopted our data fabric approach and set rules for quality, protection, and user rights across all the countries and groups that they do business in. The second question was, will customers trust AI outcomes? And Vodafone customers trust Toby, an intuitive virtual agent that handles high contact volumes. Toby engages with customers across 4 digital messaging channels. And finally, can you balance the speed of innovation with regulations? AI is infused in the full audit lifecycle. This gives 2,500 auditors superpowers, like what Citi is doing in building a practice that combines innovation and regulation. They call it the audit of the future, which provides greater detection capabilities and insights, all within a single unified platform. So let me share one final example, Energent. Energent uses the power of AI to ensure the viability of Denmark's power grid as it's transforming the mix of power to renewables in order to meet their 2030 goals. They have to contend with a range of physical and environmental factors as they transform to meet these goals. We need both a trusted source to measure our progress and contribution towards reducing carbon, while minimizing the risk we face today. That's why we're applying our AI expertise to a new area that's called environmental intelligence. This helps you navigate the challenges while you transform and work towards a healthier world. In fact, just this week, IBM announced a new suite of environmental intelligence software that leverages AI to help organizations prepare for and respond to climate risks that may disrupt business operations, more easily assess their own impact on the planet, as well as reducing the complexity of regulatory compliance and reporting. The IBM Environmental Intelligence Suite takes advantage of IBM's leading weather data and AI capabilities alongside new innovations from IBM Research. And it's the first such tool to bring together AI, weather data, climate risk analysis, and carbon accounting capabilities in this way, which allows companies to spend less resources curating complex data and more time analyzing it for insights so they can take actions to improve their business. And as you've heard today, AI is transforming almost every aspect of how businesses operate and engage with the world. AI can unlock the potential of data and revolutionize our daily routines by automating simple and repetitive tasks. And AI will be key to help address massive global challenges such as climate change. By putting trust at the cornerstone of AI innovation, business leaders have a major opportunity to use AI as a force for positive change, both for their companies and for society at large.